Back in Vancouver downtown again. This time I'm going to be going to Palladio Jewellers. They are a local jewelry store, but they also carry brands like Rolex, Parmigiani, I think that's the name. They also got Raymond Weil, some micro brands. Bremont is also a brand that they carry. And I haven't been there since 2022. Last time I went there, they had two Datejust 36s. They had a silver dial and a black dial. And I remember I was working around this area then, and the next day I went back because I was like on the verge of pulling a trigger on a Rolex. And I still didn't really love those watches, but having a Datejust was better than not having a Datejust. And the next day I went back, it was gone. So hopefully their stock situation is better now than before. Let's go take a look. You've seen the title and the thumbnail, but me at that time had no idea about the wrist candies I was about to taste test. Not having been here since 2022, I had set my expectations very low. The sales seated me, brought over a cup of tea with Rolex napkins and asked me to give her a few minutes. But me being me, I would never waste time not looking at watches. So I got up, got excited finding this Air King with the crown guards, and saw a green fluted Jubilee Datejust in the neighboring cabinet. Both these watches were exhibition-only pieces, but that Datejust being so close to the Wimbledon I want in every aspect aside from the dial made me ask to try the watch on. And here it is. Look at that profile. So similar yet different from my Oyster Perpetual 36, especially the bracelet. It's funny to think back, way back when I first got into watches, I had this weird, very non-modern idea of like, men should wear oyster bracelets with the big and masculine oyster links and leave the more feminine Jubilee bracelets for the ladies. But now looking at this Datejust and feeling how insanely engineered every link feels and the way they just taper and blend into the watch, I now fully understand why people love Rolex's Jubilee bracelets. Well, I was already pretty much converted since a few years ago, but today is when I was fully sold on the Jubilee. And coincidentally, all but one of the watches I'll be trying on today will be on this bracelet. Okay, if I'm going to be speaking specifically about this configuration, I think it's okay. The green is a new color of the Datejust from Rolex, and the sunburst on that shade of green gives it a very new money type look. The rest of the body I have zero complaints about whatsoever because it's just a nice fluted Jubilee Datejust, absolutely delicious package of a watch. Although, looking at this, I can't help but thinking, what if this had been a Wimbledon dial? Like if I just tweaked the saturation in my brain down by a few notches and add black with green back Roman numerals on the dial, this would be the exact watch I want. I'm going crazy over the Wimbledon. One day, just gotta manifest that phone call. Let's move on to the next watch, which is the Batgirl. And yes, that is a Pepsi beside that we'll be trying very soon. When I first started out in this hobby back in 2018, I've only heard of these watches on YouTube. Mark Goldberg, this really enthusiastic guy who was the only person I knew at the time that had a bat watch of any kind. And that's even on YouTube. It really speaks to how little videos I watched back in the day. And so for the longest time, I associated this watch exclusively with him. Neither of these two watches are the type of watches you see on wrists of people who'd be at places a college student or a fresh grad will be. Well, unless you're freshly graduating into financial services, then you probably spot this watch on colleagues or even on your own wrist. But going from hearing about this pair of legendary watches that even grown adults with family and houses are struggling to get their hands on, to now starting to see it on some of my peers and now seeing them even on exhibition models make me feel like, damn, I'm really getting old. Am I getting old? I don't know, does anyone else feel this? Or are these watches just a little bit more commonplace now? I mean, I'm probably the millionth person to have done a video on the Batgirl on YouTube. There's probably more pieces of media out there about this watch than the watch itself. Well, I guess going straight to the criticism is that the GMT bezel action was just okay. I made a video about the Baltic Aquascape recently, and that made me realize what the pinnacle of a unidirectional bezel can feel like. I'd rate this bezel at around a 7 out of 10, but my opinion on this doesn't really matter as people who buy these watches probably don't care about the bezel action that much. On the wrist, Black and Blue is the name of a steakhouse here in Vancouver, but also the colors of the bezel. Both can be recognized as masculine colors, so I'm not sure how much I like it with the Jubilee. I know, it's a weird thing to associate with, but I really feel like with the Jubilee, it doesn't really match the colors of the bezel that well. I feel like, as with the Submariner, this watch should be on an oyster bracelet, although I think that's now discontinued by Rolex. Anyways, definitely not a great seatbelt NATO type of watch, so yeah, on the Jubilee it is, I guess. Next is the Pepsi on Jubilee. Now this color combination with the bracelet I'm totally a fan of. First off, I love this bezel. I recall a few years back, Rolex quietly updated this watch with a new technology in the bezel. Previously, the blue was a lighter shade, the red was more pink, and there was a clear divide in the 18 and 6 between the two colors. After the update, however, the colors are now more blended, resulting in both being darker. Personally, I think I'd like this version a bit better, but that's without seeing the previous edition in hand. Look at that glossy dial too. That's one thing that has never changed about this watch. I'm still a massive fan of the 16710 Coke, and it's cool to see that dial being consistent from then to now. No camera tricks here or editing the brightness, just good old iPhone camera. Look at how the light bounces off the indices and the rehot. Getting hands-on with the GMT-Master 2s in steel for the first time, I totally get why these watches are so sought after. And here it is on the wrist. I love this look so much more than the Batgirls. The bezel just got so much more depth and substance compared to the Batgirls, and the pairing with the Jubilee doesn't look out of place. The watch physically and also aesthetically melts into the wrist. Size almost perfectly for me too. What a crazy watch. Well, for today at least, good things come in threes. Palladio also had the Sprite on Jubilee available for exhibition as well. This is my first time getting hands-on with this watch, and I actually quite like it. Maybe even a little more than the Pepsi. Nothing to do with the crown, just solely on the bezel colors. It feels more grounded and muted, unlike the slightly louder and more recognizable Pepsi bezel. Of course, nothing about these three watches are any less recognizable than each other if you were to find yourself in, say, the streets of London, but just perceptually, I think this color combination is the winner of the three, at least for me. As far as the crown goes, which is the obvious elephant in the room, did I feel it weird that the crown was on the left side? Not really. Quite honestly, I don't think it matters to me at all. But the thing that did bug me is that the date being on the 9 o'clock side. I mean, I like the watch enough to probably be able to look past this quirk, but I wish it was on the 3 o'clock side instead. It being at the 9 o'clock position just gives away the fact that this case is simply rotated 180 degrees when Rolex fit in the movements and the dial. But other than that, I can totally get with this look. The Jubilee bracelet doesn't feel out of place on this bezel either. Yeah, if the sales associate was to surprise me by offering one of these to me by the end of my visit, I know, could you imagine? I think this is the one I would take. Going back to the beginning, talking about when I went from not only hearing about the GMT-Master 2s to seeing it, the Rolex Submariner to me went from a watch where everyone tried to get at the 80s to you're not even surprised or excited to see this out in the wild on someone's wrist anymore. Don't get me wrong, it's still the most meta watch and perfect in so many ways. Probably the most recognizable and replicated design in the entirety of watch history. Also, this is no shade at the Submariner at all, because if the Sub since 2018 became a watch that everyone still wants but lost some of its mystique, then my Black Bay 58 became a watch that people wanted because they couldn't get the Submariner and is now selling at a 40% discount from retail. It still hurts saying that. So don't let me saying that affect your opinion of the watch or even take that in the wrong way, because I still love the Submariner, even the modern version. Anyways, that was a massive tangent. But yeah, still gorgeous, still perfect. Although I will say I feel the 14060 and the 16610 suits me better than these modern Submariners. Something about the case and the bezel and the insert. The old ones just do it so well. You know, after 3+ years of not having gone to Palladio, I'm so glad that I went there today. Of all the different stores carrying Rolex here in Vancouver, hands down they've got the best selection of exhibition models. From the Pepsi to the Submariner to the Sprite on Jubilee, like these are all watches that have came out in recent memory that I haven't had the chance to try on yet. And it's just so overwhelming, I guess is the word, to be able to finally see all of them in person at the same place and be being able to get hands-on with them, try them on, take pictures and videos. You guys, if you are in Vancouver or you're planning to make a trip here, today is like an Annie Revo kind of day, so you're gonna see a few people with costumes coming by. But if you guys are in Vancouver or you're here on vacation, definitely give them a try. They are a authorized dealer of Rolex and also a lot of different watch brands like U-Boat and Parmigiani and Bremont and a lot of things that I didn't really take the chance to find out about. But they also do their own jewelry. From what the sales told me, Palladio has their own line of engagement rings, wedding rings, pendants, bracelets, a lot of pave and tennis chains. So if you guys are into jewelry, watches, anything, they're a great one-stop shop. Obviously it's not a sponsored video, but I just had an amazing experience there. And I also left with some Rolex napkins. This is gonna go straight to my cabinet where the Tudor chocolate currently sits. I gotta check up on them to make sure that they haven't melted yet. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know which watch today was your favorite, and I'll see you in the next one.